Hello and welcome to the Fit and Free podcast. This is a podcast for women who want it all, to feel strong and confident in their bodies, as well as enjoying a sneaky mug on a Friday night. I'm an exercise physiologist and sports nutritionist, here to teach you how to achieve your body goals without food and your body controlling your life. So let's jump in. If you are someone who has been through an incredible weight loss journey, maybe you've lost, 5, 10, even 20 kilos, but now you're in this weird place where you still are not completely happy with your body composition. Maybe you're struggling a lot with stubborn fat in and around your waistline especially, and maybe you don't have the lean, toned, fit look that you're really after. Or if you're someone who has been eating low calories and exercising consistently for a while now, but the scale will not budge. Like no matter how strict you are, how much effort you put in, nothing's changing. And maybe now in both scenarios, you're feeling freaking frustrated because you're putting in the work, you've lost weight, but you're still not happy with your body. And maybe now, because you've lost weight, food has become something that you're obsessed over, that you're a little bit fearful of, because you do not want to go back to where you once were. And now you just desire to be fit, toned, have a flat stomach, feel confident in a bikini, but you're just at a bit of a crossroad. You don't know what to do next with nutrition and exercise. You feel frustrated because all of the things that you're doing right now is not leading to where you want to go. If this sounds familiar, this episode is absolutely for you, and I'm so glad you're here. So in today's episode, we're going to break down why the hell this is happening in terms of the plateau and why you still don't look fit, lean and toned, even though you have lost weight. Because I'm going to break down why the scale dropping doesn't necessarily mean that you're losing fat and building muscle. And I'm going to talk through the most common nutrition and exercise mistakes keeping you skinny fat. What needs to change if you really want a lean, toned, fit body? So you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Fit and Free podcast. I'm so excited to be sitting here recording this episode because I have a new podcasting setup. I've got a beautiful new chair, got a new stand, and I'm just like sitting in the vibes. I've just made myself a gourmet toasty sandwich. Oh my God, like toasted sandwiches just slap. I've had that. I'm well fed and I'm ready to go. I've made myself a coffee and we are ready to yap. So buckle in, let's get into it. So this episode really was, I got the idea because I'm getting so many DMs from you guys in and around either plateauing, like putting in the effort and the weight not budging, and or losing weight and now not looking fit, lean and toned and not knowing what to do. For an example, like this is a DM that I've got, like I've almost lost no weight over the last few months, even though I'm eating 1,300 calories a day. A month ago, I started strength training again 3 to 4 times a week, but not a lot has changed. People are telling me to increase my calories, but I'm scared I will be gaining weight that way. And you guys, every single day I'm getting DMs like this, like I'm eating low calories, I'm exercising consistently, but I'm not seeing the results that I want. And I feel you so deeply because I struggled with this for so long. I was eating low calories, I was exercising so much, doing HIIT, doing cardio, doing steps, doing twice a day workouts, but I wasn't seeing the results that I want. I was stuck in this vicious, skinny fat cycle. So it was just like losing weight, putting it back on, losing weight, putting it back on, losing weight, putting it back on. But still, anytime I lost the weight, I still wasn't happy with what my body looked like because I lost weight. I didn't lose fat and build muscle. And this is the biggest thing that you guys are doing wrong. So let's get into it. So I'm going to break down exactly why this is happening. So for the longest time, we have literally been taught through diet culture, dieting magazines, in social media, the best way in order to lose weight is to eat less and burn more. Like how many times have we seen those messages? Even at school, it's like, you can only eat this food pyramid. These are the good foods. These are the bad foods. You shouldn't eat the bad foods. And the most basic and most general advice when it comes to losing weight is just, eat less and move more. But the problem with this is just eating less and moving more doesn't necessarily mean you're going to drop body fat and look more toned. Because essentially, if you think about it, if you just eat less and move more, what are people inclined to do then? okay, I'm going to be restrictive. I'm going to cut out anything that's unhealthy. Then I'm just going to eat low calorie foods. I'm going to look at labels, anything that says low calorie, anything that says low sugar, low fat. Like, that must be good for me. That's what I want. I need to be picking these things because it's less. Then in terms of the exercise piece, it's like, okay, burn more calories. Cool. What's going to get me really sweaty? What's going to make me burn more calories? HIIT, cardio, doing lots of exercise. So of course I'm following that equation. So therefore I'm going to get the results. Eating low calories, exercising consistently, burning the calories. But this is actually the reason why you get stuck in the cycles. Because when you just drop your calories are really low and you do exercise to burn calories, or like you're walking on the incline treadmill, or on the Stairmeister, you're going for runs, you're doing HIIT classes, you're doing group fitness, like you're really focusing on burning a lot of calories and getting really sweaty. Well, yes, it's good for you. Don't get me wrong. Maybe not like those 45 HIIT sessions that just actually destroy your soul, but that's a conversation for another day. Well, yeah, you're going to lose weight. But the problem with that is the weight that you're going to lose is not only going to come from body fat. And this is where people are getting it wrong. When you do this, what happens is you lose weight on the scale. The numbers go down. However, the weight that you lose is not only coming from body fat, it's going to come from muscle as well. And this is the problem. When you go through a weight loss journey and you lose your muscle, is when you don't look more toned, you don't look any different when you lose the weight. And that's because you've just focused on eating less and moving more instead of optimizing your nutrition so that you actually drop fat and maintain your muscle, and training with intention so that when you lose weight, you keep your muscle, right? And literally, like, this is the difference between you looking toned and you just losing weight. And it's not about eating less or doing more. It's about having a better strategy and having more structure with your nutrition and with your exercise. So you actually are putting in the same amount of effort. I would even argue that you're putting in less effort, and the process is going to be 10 times more enjoyable because you're probably going to be eating food that you actually not like, not all this low calorie shit that tastes like ass. So therefore, the results, most importantly, and what I'm all about, they're actually going to be sustainable. So that's exactly what we're going to be speaking to in more detail throughout this episode. So before we get into that, something that I really just want to talk about is the fear of eating more food. Because I know so many people are struggling with this, and you probably won't even realize it, but your fear of eating more is keeping you stuck in these vicious cycles. Your fear of eating more food is why you're potentially binge restricting. Your fear of eating more food is why you look skinny fat. Your fear of eating more food is why you're plateaued with your results. Why? Because when it comes to nutrition, like the most stupid advice that I've ever heard is just stay in a calorie deficit until you look toned. But what you guys have to realize is the things that you see on the internet, it is true. Like, your body does adapt to a calorie deficit. You can't just eat in a calorie deficit and expect that to get you to the body that you want. The body that you want to get to is going to happen in phases. And what this means is you have to transition through phases of eating in a calorie deficit and then transitioning back to maintenance so that your metabolism does not downregulate. So you can continue to progress with your training, so your energy stays high, and also your relationship with food stays really, really solid. Because if you don't, then when you're eating in a deficit, metabolic adaptation is a real thing. This is why so many women are losing their periods. They're seeing plateaus. They're not seeing the progress that they want. It's because they just eat these low calories and stay there and think that that's going to help them, when in reality, they actually have to shift back to maintenance and go through phases. And this is why it's so important to be addressing that fear of eating more, is because it's the fear of eating more that is holding people back from being able to switch through these phases and ultimately see the results that they want. Because I get it, like there's so many people being like, oh, but if I increase my calories, I'll regain the weight. If I increase my calories, I'll undo my progress. If I increase my calories, I'll go back to where I once was, and I don't want that. And I totally get that. And at the same time, we have to ask ourselves, well, is that actually true? Is it actually true if I increase my calories from a deficit to maintenance that I'm going to gain weight? Well, no. If you do it properly, then you won't blow out, because what is the definition of maintenance? Maintenance is eating as much energy as what you're burning, so you will not gain weight. And then, is it really going to undo my progress? Well, no, it's actually going to help me make more progress, because it's going to help me overcome this plateau. I'm going to be able to keep getting stronger in the gym. So ultimately, I'm actually going to see better changes within my body composition long term. So that's something that we absolutely need to address. This fear of eating more, this fear of getting fat, because essentially it is absolutely holding so many of you guys back, and we need to move through this, because food is not going to make you fat, especially when you're nailing like eating the right things, eating the right amounts for you. It's going to make you feel energized. It's going to make you feel strong. It's going to make you feel empowered. It's going to make you feel free. It's going to make you feel so many things. And this is why I'm so big on this stuff, because it's so much more. And, this fear is ultimately driving so many women's health into the ground. Like, if you don't have a regular period, like, guys, come on. Like, I'm saying this with love. I didn't have a period for 3 years because I was also brainwashed by this stuff. But like, it's serious. Like, if you do not have your period, that is impacting your health. Right? It's going to impact your bone density. Look at osteoporosis and amenorrhea. You'll find, in your later years, you're more at risk of developing osteoporosis if you don't have a regular period. You're also higher risk of developing cardiovascular disease. And I get it, because there is so much tied into, being thin and being skinny. But what's the point of being skinny if you've got a fucked relationship with food? You can't go out and you feel guilty for eating food. You don't have a regular period, so your health is not even on point. Like, anyway, sorry, that was a bit of a ramble. I'm passionate about women. It's, your health is so much more than your body composition. It is, how your body is functioning. And that's what we have to realize, is that we need to have both. And this is one of the biggest reasons why, as well, we need to move through this fear of weight gain. So you guys, more food is not going to make you fat. It is absolutely going to help you achieve the results that you want. Cool. Now we've addressed that, let's move into the common mistakes that people are making with their nutrition and training that are getting them stuck into this little pickle. So first of all, we're going to start with nutrition mistakes. So as I already said, we've been drilled into us that less food is better. Low calorie is better. And, it has really impacted our relationship with the word calorie. But at the end of the day, calories are not a thing. Calories are actually a good thing, because what calories are is energy for your body. And if you can start looking at food as energy and nourishment, all of a sudden we can reframe that mindset to like, holy shit, like, this food is nourishing my body. This food is here to fuel me. This food is important. I need this in order to see the results that I want. So with that being said, the first mistake people are making is they are focusing on counting calories and they're not focusing on their macros, right? Because at the end of the day, like I already said at the beginning, if you drop your calories low, and especially if you pair that with cardio, exercise that burns the most calories, then you're going to lose weight in the form of muscle and fat. And so why this is happening is because essentially you're not eating enough protein, and protein is so important to maintain your muscle mass, that and resistance training. So if you're not eating enough protein, you're going to lose your muscle as soon as you stop eating enough. And we know muscle is important for so many reasons inside the body, not only for, like looking good, looking toned. It's also so important for injury prevention, to keep ourselves mobile, to carry shit up the stairs, to, pick our kids up off the floor, there are so many important reasons to maintain muscle. It is, more metabolically active, so you're going to be able to eat more. It's good for our hormones, so many things, right? So this is why it's really important to, when you're, going through a fitness journey, and it's really, really important that we're focusing on calories and macros. And I know you might be thinking like, oh my God, like macros, calories, oh my God, it's also confusing. I get that. I used to think that. But when we break it down super simple, like calories, all that means is how much you should eat. And then macros is what you should eat. And it's actually really freaking simple when you break it down. And honestly, I just truly believe that everyone on the internet is making nutrition so much more complex than it really needs to be. Because let me give you an example of how simple this really gets to be. So person A, they're focusing on low calories. So their breakfast might look like, 2 eggs, maybe an egg white omelette with a heap of veggies. Maybe for lunch, they're having this big high voluminous salad with maybe like a little bit of meat, some protein in there. Then for dinner, the same sort of thing, like meat and 3 veg kind of vibes, right? Like that is what someone would be doing when they're focusing on low calories in comparison to someone who is nailing their macros. And this is what you guys have to realize. It's not about, completely overhauling your diet. It's about making smarter, simpler choices. And your food overall is going to be tastier than what you were doing before. So there's so many good reasons to be focusing on this. So a macro focused person for breakfast, they potentially could be having 2 eggs, some cottage cheese on toast with some avocado. Then for lunch, let's use the salad for example, but let's use a burrito bowl. So they're going to be having rice as their carbohydrate. They're going to have lettuce, then they're going to have chicken breast, and then they're going to have some avocado as their fat source and maybe a little bit more fiber with some fruits and veg, right? And then think about that. Would you rather be eating an egg white omelette with some vegetables, or would you rather have that well-balanced breakfast with the bread, with the avocado every single day? I know what I would be picking. And the cool thing is that food is going to give you better results and it's going to give you better body composition changes than egg white omelette and veggies would ever give you. And this is why we have to break down the belief that less food is better. It's not about less food. It's about making smarter choices with your nutrition. Because at the end of the day, macronutrients, all they are nutrients that your body needs a lot of, right? Macronutrient. We need carbs, fats, and proteins. We need those at every single meal. And once you get that balance right, what's going to happen? You're going to be full and satisfied. Your cravings are going to go away. Your energy is going to be lit. So therefore, your training is going to be better. You're going to be able to stick to your nutrition plan. You're not going to binge restrict. So what's going to happen? You're going to see better results. So I hope this really opens your eyes to how, simple nutrition can be. And it's not about, doing all of these crazy things. It's just about making smarter choices. Now, the next mistake that people are making with their nutrition is setting up their calories, and they're setting up their calorie deficit, and they are putting themselves in such a massive calorie deficit. I had a DM from a girl and she said that she was 170 centimeters tall, which is the same as me. And she was eating 1,200 or 1,300 calories. And I'm like, oh my God, girlfriend, I've eaten that for breakfast and lunch. Come on. And this is the problem, is because when you use these online calculators, they're spitting out these numbers, but when you're putting your data into these online calculators, it's not taking into account your movement. It's not taking into account your daily movement. There's things that you guys need to consider when you're, putting your numbers into these calculators. And that's why I always say, if you don't know your own numbers, if you don't know what a deficit is, you don't know what maintenance is, work with a professional, even if that's just 8, 16 weeks, whatever that looks like. So you know what a deficit is, you know what maintenance is, so that you actually understand, then you're honestly set up for life. I like to think about it. It's I wouldn't, fix my own car. If my car is broken, I take it to a mechanic. I take it to someone who knows what they're talking about. And it's the same thing for your nutrition. When I started out, I got help. I didn't know what I was doing. And I invested in myself, got the knowledge, set for life. And because if you're just setting your own calories and you're putting them so low, you're putting your body in such a dangerous place. It's unhealthy for your body. Not only are you not going to see the results that you want, but you're also, impacting your health. And I say this because I did that. I lost my period. I was in denial about it and all of the things. So it's so important that, when you're setting up your nutrition, you're setting your numbers up correctly so that you're not making this mistake of putting yourself in this massive deficit. Because as a female, and especially maybe if you've only got 5 kilos to lose, 3 kilos to lose, even 10 kilos to lose, it is harder to lose the last 5 kilos than it is to lose 20 kilos. You've got to be more dialed in. You've got to be more on top of it. And your nutrition calculations need to be on point. Because the other thing is that you can't lose as much weight per week. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They're I want to lose half a kilo a week. I'm already, I'm 65 kilos, I want to be 60 kilos, or I'm 60 kilos, I want to be 55 kilos, whatever that looks like. It's as you get smaller, you can't lose as much weight per week in a healthy way. And this is where people are getting it wrong because they're setting themselves up. They're like, oh, I want to lose half a kilo a week. So then these calculators are punching out that you have to eat 1,200 calories. But 1,200 calories is below your metabolic rate. It's not enough food to essentially keep you alive. Then you throw your exercise sessions on top of that. And of course, you friggin' lost your period because your body has downregulated. Right? So it's really, really important that you are making sure that when you do not make the mistake of cutting your calories too low, because essentially you're not going to see the results that you want and you're going to put your body at risk. Then the mistake that people are making here is they're just cutting out carbohydrates, cutting out complex carbs because it's not worth the calories. But the problem is when you're cutting out carbohydrates, what you're saying is your body is not allowed to have any fuel because essentially that's what carbs are. Because everyone puts protein on such a pedestal. Well, yes, protein is important. Your carbohydrates are just as important if you want your muscles to repair, if you want to have energy in the gym, to train, all of the things. So it's not about cutting out carbs. It's just about adjusting the portion size to the carbohydrates of your nutritional base. That brings me into the final mistake that people are making with their nutrition is they're just staying in a calorie deficit for too long. And when I say too long, it's like as soon as you start hitting a plateau is when you have to look at adjusting something. And because essentially your dream body is going to happen in stages. It's going to happen through cycles of eating in a deficit and then coming back to maintenance, eating in a deficit, coming back to maintenance, eating at maintenance, going into a surplus, and then eating in a deficit. Right? That's going to happen in phases. Why? Because the body, like I already says, it's adaptive. So when you eat in a deficit, it adapts. So eventually it plateaus. So then in order to come out of the plateau, what you have to do is eat more again. And that's the cool thing is, it's like your metabolism is not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You just have to upregulate it again. And it's quite simple. You don't have to reverse diet. All you have to do is just go back to maintenance, go back to your new calculated maintenance with that weight loss, and you're going to be sweet. So that's, one of the biggest mistakes people are making is they're just staying in the deficit for way too long. When they're hitting a plateau, they are not doing anything about it and they just stay there and hoping that things will change. When in reality, you guys have to be more strategic, come out of the deficit, come to maintenance, spend some time there, and then go back into a deficit. Amazing. Now let's move on to the training mistakes. So first of all is this whole notion of training, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week. And I get it. I used to be there. I used to feel really guilty if I didn't have a rest day. I felt like that if I didn't burn enough calories in the day, then I wasn't doing well enough and all of these things. But what I know to be true is that the best amount of exercise right for you is the amount that you can recover from. Because if you're not recovering from your workouts, then you're going to plateau with them. And if you're plateauing with your workouts, that's the definition of skinny fat. Because essentially, in order to go from skinny fat to toned, it's not just about losing fat, it's also about building muscle. And this is what a lot of women do not understand. Because, oh my God, if I build muscle, I'll look bulky. I don't want to look bulky. And I get that because I used to think that as well. But when it comes to getting bulky, it is, that's going to require years of training, years of eating in a calorie surplus. And for women, like injectables, because essentially it's actually really hard for women to build muscle because they have such low testosterone. And when you think about it, okay, if your body is not made up of body fat, if you lose body fat, what is going to make up the rest of your weight? Well, it's not going to be water. It needs to be muscle because otherwise you're not going to have toned, sculpted, lean look. And this is why it's so, so important that you focus on building muscle as you're losing body fat so that you actually either build or just maintain the muscle that you have. So when you drop weight, it actually is coming from body fat and not weight so that you actually get a lean, fit, toned physique. This is how you're going to see better results in your midsection, how you're going to see your bum, how you're going to see toned, lean legs is lifting weights. And the biggest thing here is like that I was saying is recovery. Because at the end of the day, like the training is only half the equation. The recovery is the other half. And this is where I got it wrong for so long because I thought more was better, more exercise, but actually less exercise is better, but being more intentional with your exercise is king. Because if you lack the intentionality, then you're not going to see the results. Because if you're not training to the right intensities and you're not recovering, then you're not going to progress. And like I already said, if you are not progressing with your exercise routine, then you are going to get a plateau. Because essentially, guys, it's like once you understand your nutrition, it's fucking easy. Honestly, it's like deficit, maintenance, macros, cool, sweet. Got that dialed in. Built the habits, built, weekly meal planning, grocery shop, meal prepping, all of the healthy habits that make nutrition really freaking easy. Then, like, the harder thing is to continue to progress with your training. Honestly, like, you've got to continue to lift heavier. You've got to continue to improve your form. You've got to continue to progress in some sort of way if you want to keep seeing changes in your body. So yeah, that's it, you guys. It's like you have to continue to progress. And if you're not progressing, you're not lifting heavier, you're not hitting PBs, then the composition of your body is going to stop changing. So super, super important. So to summarize all of that is you have to have rest days, 2 to 3 rest days per week, you guys. Making sure that you are recovering from your exercise. So every single time you walk into the gym, you feel fresh, you feel excited, you feel motivated to lift. And if you're not feeling those things, then I would be red flagging your exercise routine to being like, oh, I am overdoing this. Because if you're not excited about your training, if you're not there, you're not pushing to good intensities, you're not, progressing, then red flag, red flag, something we need to look at. Cool. So now we know the importance of recovery. The next thing that I want to talk about, a big mistake that people make, just adding in cardio to every single freaking workout that they do. Like, why are we doing this? Who's taught us to do cardio, 30 minutes of incline treadmill every single time we work out, 5 days a week? Why? Why? I don't understand. Because, 30 minutes of cardio after every session it's going to, especially if it's like on the Stairmaster or on the incline treadmill, like essentially what that's going to do is going to impact your ability to recover, especially if you are a new lifter and you're getting into lifting a little bit heavier. Like, it's taxing on the body. And then, slamming yourself with 30 minutes of cardio just because you should is, it's probably doing more harm than good. While yes, cardio can be such a fantastic tool to help fuel fat loss. Absolutely. I'm not saying don't do it at all. And it's also so good for your cardiovascular health, but you do not be needing to do it every single day for 30 minutes after every single workout. Absolutely not. What I would be more focusing on is your daily movement throughout the day. So getting up, being active, getting that 10,000 steps in and around there, 8 to 10. And then, utilizing the gym as a place where you're, really focused on getting stronger. Because trust me, when I say that, it's like you're going to see way better body composition changes when you start focusing all your efforts into getting stronger instead of burning calories. You're going to look more toned, you're going to look more snatched, you're going to look more lean, and you're probably going to be overall, have more energy and just feel overall better. Because not only are you seeing better results, but your body is going to be able to handle it. So stop doing the 30 minutes of cardio every session, 30 minutes of cardio on the incline treadmill once a week. Start with that. Now, the next mistake that I see people make is kind of go hand in hand with the recovery piece. I kind of went on a bit of a tangent as I do, and I kind of already mentioned it. But the big mistake, I'll just sum it up quickly, is you're just doing the same thing with your weights. Lifting the same thing every week. You're lifting light. You're lifting in those toning rep ranges, like the classic 15 to 20 Pilates reps. But the problem is that while yes, these, two things. Number one, if you're doing the same thing every single week, you're not getting that progression that I was talking about that we need. So there's no progressive overload. So therefore, your body's not getting a new stimulus. So if there's no new stimulus, your body, like I said, is so adaptive. It's adapting to the stimulus. So if you don't continue to push it to new levels, it's just going to stay the same. And of course, we don't want to stay the same. We want to keep getting fitter, stronger, leaner. And if we lack that progression, we're not going to get any of those things. It's just like, think about it. If, an athlete was just to do the same thing week after week, how is that athlete pushing into new limits? How is that athlete improving? They wouldn't be. They would just be staying plateauing along. And this is why it's really important that you're following a program, that you're tracking your lifts, writing down how much you're lifting every single week. So essentially, you know what you have to beat. And then if you're lifting light and you're lifting in those toning rep ranges, it's like, well, yeah, it does create a burn on your muscles, but where we really want to be sitting with our rep ranges for muscle hypertrophy is, you know, that 8 to 12 rep range. There is a lot of research that is also coming out. You can also get gains and also get muscle hypertrophy through, you know, strength training, hypertrophy training, all of the things. So it's really, really important to be, you know, varying your workouts as well. But the most important thing here is you've just got to be making sure that you're progressing and you're pushing your muscles hard in order to give them a reason to adapt and change. Because again, if we're not adapting, we're not pushing them, you're going to plateau and get stuck in these cycles of putting in the effort but not seeing the results. So just to summarize that, it's making sure that we're not staying on the same weights every week, that we're progressing every single time we go in. And then secondly, we're, you know, doing a vary of rep ranges. We're doing some 5 rep range, we're doing some 8 to 10, and then we're doing some, you know, 12 to 15 to really making sure that we are continuously challenging our body, which is the most important thing. So you guys, that is a wrap. That is the biggest mistakes, the exercise mistakes that I see people making and what we need to be doing instead. Let me know if you love this episode. Send me a DM. If you feel like, you know, someone who's struggling with something like this, send it to them, give them a listen, because I really hope this shows you that there gets to be a better way when it comes to achieving your body composition goals. It doesn't have to be so obsessive. It doesn't have to be, you know, stuck in these low calories. You don't have to train every day. What you have to do is have a better strategy. And if you want help with this, you know we're here for you. The Fit Free Academy, we are rolling for next month for May, which is super exciting. Send me a DM over on Instagram. Tell me that you listened to this potty episode. Let's have a conversation. I can give you all the deets so that, you know, you're actually starting to see some results from all of your hard work. Anyway, thank you for being here. I love you always, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.